What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Foot and Fist Sports Network, and I'm fucking excited to finally be doing this video. I was hoping to do it a couple days earlier, but due to other videos having to take priority over it, I'm doing it today, which is August 11th at 15:55, so 3:55 in the afternoon, my time in Italy. So this video will be being produced before the Premier League actually starts. So this isn't like me taking advantage of like one extra day. No, this is just me doing it the day of. So if the video does come out after the kickoff, which is tonight at 8:45 my time, so 7:45 British time, between Arsenal and Leicester City, it's not because I was using it on purpose. It's simply the fact that it takes me long ass fucking time because of how shit the Wi-Fi is on this island I live on. So I apologize for the fact that it might be one day late. But at the end of the fucking day, here we motherfucking go. Now, there's one thing I want to say before I get into it, and if you are offended, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Like, absolutely go after me. That's what I want. I mean, at the end of the day, I want a good community, and in a good community, you have people that attack you. You have people, I mean, I guess technically you don't, but it is what it is. Anyway, feel free to go after me in the comment section down below if you disagree, and let me know in the comment section down below if you do agree. Now it's time to go ahead and jump right into the relegation teams. I'm going to go in with Brighton, Huddersfield, and Burnley. Now, there's been quite a bit of research going into this one, so if I do end up fucking up, then it's just because my research was bad. Personally, I think that every time, or at least every season, when teams get promoted, the three teams that get promoted, at least one of them is going down, usually two, and one usually stays up. And that's usually the case because the relegated teams, when they come up, they have a lot of ambition, they have a lot of hunger, especially a lot of the players that are coming up from the championship, mixed with players that usually get brought in that are Premier League proven talent. They really make a decent team, and they sort of add that extra, I guess you could say that, just like that extra determination that really helps these bottom feeders stay alive in the Premier League. But right now, when I look at Brighton, when I look at Huddersfield, I just don't see the improvements necessarily in their teams to really be able to take that next step forward in the Premier League, because we're not talking about the championship where just about every team is garbage. I mean, Newcastle won the fucking league, and they were, you know, they weren't very good. They didn't play any good football. They had some good players like Shelby, and they had a good manager in Rafa Benitez, but that's pretty much it. They don't really have anything, like, really, they don't have any real quality. So, you know, keep that in mind. Brighton and Huddersfield have bad teams. They did just get promoted, so that might give them an extra push, but at the end of the day, they had a very bad transfer window. They haven't brought in anybody that's really worth noting, and they haven't had, they just don't have a good enough team. Burnley, on the other hand, are one of those teams, like very much like Sunderland, who every season are on the fringes, like just barely survive. I think this is the second year that they've been in the Premier League. I think, or the second or third year they've been in the Premier League in a row. I can't fucking remember right now, but I think this is like this is their second. Yeah, this is without a doubt their second or third. They don't have a good team, first of all, and most importantly, they lost without a doubt their best player, and they lost him to Everton, and that's Michael Keane. Losing your best player, especially when it's a center back, so it's in a very important part of your team. It's not like it's a striker where you can replace him with anybody else who brings in goals. You're talking about a very young, very good center back who was raised in one of the best youth teams in the country, the youth systems, which is Manchester United. So it is a shame for them to lose that player. And I think that's going to be a huge thing for them. And just like we've seen with Sunderland and even other teams like Aston Villa before them, teams that sort of scrape the bottom and manage to survive year after year for a couple years, they tend to go back down eventually, and that's exactly what I think is going to happen with Burnley. Next up, we have Swansea City, who, you know, they're an okay team, but they aren't a good one. They aren't a good one, especially now that they lost Gomes. I can't remember. I think he went to France. He went back to France, but you know that's a big loss for them considering he was a really good striker for him. They also are looking like they're probably going to lose Sigurdsson, so I think they're going to take a few steps back, and they could possibly be relegated, but I think that the other teams behind them are just a little bit worse than them, and especially if they do keep Sigurdsson, who looks like he might be going to Everton, then I think that they have a chance of doing possibly like one position better, but at the end of the day, I don't think they have enough quality to really be doing anything in this league. Next up at 16th position, we have Newcastle. Newcastle are a team with a good manager, Rafa Benitez. He's a manager that, me personally, being a United fan, I don't have a good relationship with his history. I don't like him very much. I don't like him as a person. From a personality point of view, he's really annoying. But at the end of the day, he is a manager who has won the Champions League. So he is a manager that probably could find a job that's more important than Newcastle. And that's not a knock on Newcastle, because back when they had Alan Shearer, they were a team that was very competitive. But historically, they aren't a club that really competes. And that's not, like I said, I don't mean to offend anybody, but that's just the way it is. I mean, True Geordie is my favorite YouTuber probably, at least when it comes to sports. And I have a newfound appreciation for Newcastle based on following him. But at the end of the day, you cannot deny that Newcastle aren't a club on the level as like the top 6 clubs, the top 7 right now. But they should be spending more because they have a rich owner, a very rich owner, and the fact that they simply year after year continue to not invest is kind of a shame. So they don't have a good team. They haven't made any good transfers, and the only thing I think is going to really keep them from getting relegated is Rafa Benitez. 15th position, I have Watford, who, they did sign Andre Gray from Burnley, and that's pretty much why I'm putting them in 15th. Personally, looking at their team, they have some decent players, some pretty proven players that are sort of getting older though now, like Barami, the midfielder, used to play for Napoli as well. I think he used to play for West Ham too. They have Alvaro Pereira, ex-Juventus player. He's a very promising player, very good. I love him in FIFA, for example. They have a decent defense with players like Britos, and there's a very okay team. Without a guy like Andre Gray, who was Burnley's biggest striker, I would say that Michael Keane was their best player, but Andre Gray was without a doubt one of the players that carried them. I think it's a good addition for Watford. I think they're going to be a bit more dangerous, but at the end of the day, I don't think they're anything better than like 15th, maybe 14th if they get lucky, depending on what happens around the table. Because from like 17th, I would say up to like 12th, there's really nothing in between these teams. They're all pretty much even right there. So it's really hard to pick these guys, but at the end of the day, I think it's pretty close. 14th, I have West Brom, and they are the team that's most likely to surprise me and actually finish higher than I expect them to. And that's mostly because last season they did very well. Tony Pulis, whether you like him or not, I do not like him because his style is fucking garbage. But at the end of the day, he's able to get results. He's always able to do more than what his team is supposed to be doing, especially with West Brom last season. However, they haven't really impressed me big time in the transfer market. I think they're going to be worse than last season because all the other teams, more or less, around them are improving. So I think they're going to take a few steps back. How big of a step back, I don't know. I think they finished like 9th last season. So, no, I think Bournemouth finished 9th. I can't remember exactly where they finished, but they were around the top 10. So I think West Brom are going to take a step back, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did do better. Now we have 13th Crystal Palace, and this is going to be kind of a tough one because Crystal Palace, in my opinion, have the potential to do much better. I'm not very convinced by Frank de Boer because we saw what he did at Inter. He had a very atrocious time. He was sacked within like 2 months. He had a very, very poor time, and that was his first real big test because managing in Holland isn't really that big of a deal. It's a good place where you have a lot of youth talent, but at the highest level, there's really not a lot there. So I don't really take it as a huge showing of what he could do. Inter are a club that fires a lot of manager. They are a club that's been in turmoil ever since Jose Mourinho left them, so it's hard to judge them by that, but I do think that Frank de Boer is a pretty talented manager. He has a good style, and especially in Crystal Palace, a team where it's going to be favoring a lot of attacking play, especially with guys like Wilfried Zaha, Christian Benteke, Puncheon. I expect them to keep him throughout the window as well. Plus, they added Timothy Fosu-Mensah, so for me, just adding Fosu-Mensah, they have to be expected to do pretty well because I love Fosu-Mensah. He has immense talent. I think that right now he could be on United's bench consistently and possibly even a starter. Like, not a regular starter, but starting a few games here and there. So for Crystal Palace, he is already better than their level, if not at least on par with some of their best players. So I think he will immediately be slotted in to the first team, immediately be slotted into the starting lineup, and I think he will be a huge player for them. They also brought in, if I'm not mistaken, Loftus-Cheek, so that's a pretty good signing as well. If I'm not mistaken, I can't remember right now off the top of my head. I know for a fact he left. I think it was Crystal Palace, but at the end of the day, they have some really good players at Crystal Palace. They have a lot of solid talent, and I expect them to do pretty well. And depending on how well the young players gel with the players that are already there, how fast they gel, they could possibly finish like around 11th or 10th. But I'm gonna go ahead and go with 13th. Now Stoke City. Now in 12th position, I have Stoke City, and when it comes to the Premier League, you always have to be evolving. And unfortunately for Stoke City, they haven't evolved this season, at least not to a level where I'm confident they are going to be doing better. I personally don't think that they're going to be as good as they were last season. And even though Xherdan Shaqiri, for some reason, likes to say that he believes they can win the Premier League, I honestly don't see how that's even fucking possible. Because Leicester at least had a lot of quality. Stoke City absolutely lost the quality they had, and losing Marko Arnautovic, that's a fucking big loss. They did sign Darren Fletcher, which is a good signing because of the experience he brings and the fact that he, having played under Sir Alex Ferguson for so long, he has a winning mentality. Maybe he lost that a little bit being with West Brom. But personally, I think that Darren Fletcher is still a pretty decent signing. He is older, but at the end of the day, having a player like that in the locker room is always helpful, especially for a club like Stoke City who don't have a lot of winning players. They don't have any players that have really won anything over their careers. Next up in 11th position, we have Southampton. And Southampton last season were a decent team. Every single year, they lose their big pieces, and they have to rebuild. Luckily for them, they have a really good youth system, and every single time they manage to bring in some good youth players that really take over things and actually continue to keep the squad looking pretty good. Now, Southampton, the big thing here is, do they lose Van Dijk? If they do lose Van Dijk, I think they're going to finish lower. But with Van Dijk, I think that they can do at least like 11th. They might be able to get like 10th, depending on what happened with Bournemouth. Excuse me, I just spoiled who's 10th position. But I do believe that they aren't good enough to really crack that top 10. The one thing I will say is that they have some good strikers, especially Manolo Gabbiadini. I'm a big fan of that guy. They call him Spider-Man here in Italy because of the fact that he's always able to hit the fucking corners where the crossbar meets the post. That's exactly where he always hits because that's how fucking accurate he is, and he takes the spider webs that develop in between the posts. So he's a fucking tremendous striker. He's got great movement, and he scores a lot. I think that's going to keep them near the top 10. I just don't think they're going to quite crack it. In 10th place, like I said, Bournemouth. Bournemouth, realistically, they don't have a great team. What they do have is a really good manager in Eddie Howe. Personally, I don't know if he wasn't English, would he be getting as much praise? I don't think so. But at the end of the fucking day, he does really well. He does really fucking well with the team he has. And he's always done well with Bournemouth. So I'm very impressed, especially because he's a young manager and he likes to play a very good style of football. When he first came to the Premier League, he played really way too gun-ho, and it cost him a little bit. But now that he's developed it a bit more tactically and understands how it works in the Premier League, Bournemouth have become a really good team, especially because this is this is going to be their third year in the Premier League. And for them to already be in their third year, expected to be around the 10th position, based on basically most of the prediction videos I've also seen, I expect them to be doing pretty well, and I expect Eddie Howe to have some pretty good things in his future. 9th place, I have Leicester City. Now, Leicester City, obviously, last season, they started off very poorly, but once they sacked Claudio Ranieri, which was a decision I was not happy about, I was definitely against it, but at the end of the day, it ended up working out for him, and it showed just how important William Shakespeare actually was to their campaign, even when they won the title. In my opinion, he may have been one of the bigger factors, because if we've seen Claudio Ranieri over the years, he's never really won anything with any of the clubs he's been with. So for him to go out there and win the title like that with Leicester, it was shocking. And now that Ranieri was sacked and Shakespeare took over and really did some great things with Leicester, taking them to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, it showed that, you know what, these motherfuckers aren't half bad. These guys are a pretty decent team. And I think that right now, with the quality they have, if they don't lose Mahrez, because that is a problem, if they do lose Mahrez, because Mahrez, when he's on his day, is a great player. At last season, he didn't do jack shit because he didn't really care, in my opinion. But if he does go to Roma, I think he'll be motivated again and he will play there. He's been open about the fact that he wants to leave the club, but the managers also said that if there isn't a good offer, they're not going to sell because realistically they don't need to. And at the end of the day, if he doesn't want to play for him, fuck him, right? So I do think that they will be 9th. Especially because they signed Iheanacho. I think that's a really good signing. I think that him alongside Vardy, that's going to be a very dangerous combination right there. And they could do better. But I just think that the next teams ahead of them are that little bit better than them. And that leads me to 8th place, West Ham, which is kind of controversial. Because West Ham are one of those teams that year after year, they have a lot of promise, but they don't live up to the hype. Like last season, 2 seasons ago, they did very, very well. So last season, everybody expected them to do very well. I think they finished 7th the season before. Last season, they finished I can't remember, I think it was 11th or something like that. They finished around the top 10, but nothing good. And everybody expected them to do much better. And Slaven Bilic was sort of found out. He had a season where people saw that he can be exposed tactically. I think defensively, he isn't quite as good as he was last season, the season before that when Big Sam left. So that's kind of a problem for him. I think that Big Sam left him, the defense pretty much set up. So, and we always know, and it takes a year for the teams to really lose the system that they had before with the previous manager. So I think that Slaven Bilic is a good manager, but defensively I think he needs a lot of work. But he has signed in some really good players like Chicharito. I'm very impressed by that signing especially. So I think that they have improved the team in a big way. They brought in some other signings as well. And I think that they have easily enough quality to finish 8th. Depending on what happens with the next team, they could finish 7th. The next team is Everton. Everton are a team that were obviously struck by disaster for themselves when they lost Lukaku, because losing Lukaku is a big thing for anybody because he's a guy that guarantees you 20 goals a season. Now There have been a lot of Everton fans ever since he left complaining like, oh my, his first touch isn't good, he's lazy, stuff like that. Bitch, he got you fucking 20 goals a season for like 2 or 3 seasons straight. Don't fucking complain. This guy kept you relevant. This guy kept you good. Without him, you were fucking nothing. You had some good players like Ross Barkley, who isn't even a fucking starter anymore for you guys, basically. So, you had some good players, but without Lukaku, you would be mid-table. You'd be 10th. So, don't be fucking talking shit about the guy who carried you. The guy fucking led your team. He got you a few goals when you probably didn't fucking deserve them last season. So don't be talking shit about the guy. Don't fucking spit in the plate you eat from, especially because the homeboy has been nothing but respectful for you. So I recommend that you fucking Everton fans be a bit more respectful to the guy who literally gave you the possibility to be in the Europa League. So, mind your fucking tongue. Now, they did lose Lukaku, but they brought in some really good players. They brought in quite a few, and it looks like they might be even signing Sigurdsson. If they sign Sigurdsson, they could be closer to the top 6, but I personally don't think that they're on that level right now, especially because they really did lose a big player, one of the best players, one of the best strikers in the Premier League, without a doubt, and they strengthened one of the teams that will be above them. Now, one thing I will say is that it depends on really how long it's going to take their new players to gel, because Wayne Rooney's been brought in, and there have been quite a few other players as well. So, but depending on how long it takes them to really develop those players together, it might be a little bit rougher for them to beat West Ham, but I do think that Everton have enough quality to finish 7th. And now, it's time to talk about the teams that we all been waiting for, the teams that really matter, the teams that everybody wants to talk about. It's the top 6. And this season, more than ever, it's really fucking hard to pick the top 6. Like, who is going to be where in the top 6? There's some obvious decisions that a lot of people would probably think are going to happen that I personally disagree with. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. 6th place is going to be fucking Liverpool. Trash-ass Liverpool, who, with all due respect, are actually a pretty good team. I actually like to watch them play even though they're Liverpool, because of the fact that they're very offensive. Jurgen Klopp has a very fun style to watch. Because if they win big. If they lose, they get fucking dismantled. So it's always fun to watch, and I personally like it more when they get dismantled. But at the end of the day, they have a fun brand of football, especially when they're playing like in cup games and stuff like that, where they're playing against shittier teams when they're going to win. But personally, I look forward to seeing them get destroyed in the Champions League. That's going to be fun. Now, there are a few reasons why I think the Liverpool won't make it into the top 6, because last season they did. Into the top 4, excuse me. This is why I don't think they're going to make it to the top 4. Champions League football. Last season, they didn't have any European football, so they were much more fresh. They didn't have anything to worry about, and at the end of the day, that really helped them. That really fucking helped them, especially because they didn't have that deep of a team, and that's going to be a common theme for the next 3 teams that I'm going to be talking about. They don't have a lot of depth, and they still really don't have a lot of depth. They don't have an elite striker, which is going to hurt them in the long run, because Origi isn't that great a striker. He's a good striker, maybe like a 10 to maybe 12, 13 goals a season striker. Firmino isn't an all-out striker, so you can't really rely on him to be getting you 20 goals a season. And if they do lose Coutinho, then I definitely don't see how they're going to get top 4 and maybe not even 5th. 6th place, I think even with Coutinho, is a pretty respectable position for them, because of the fact that the other teams ahead of them have just gotten better. They've improved so much, and really Liverpool haven't. I mean, they signed Salah, but I don't really consider Salah a good player. I mean, he's okay. He's, I guess, quick, but I don't consider him that really game-changing player. So I don't expect them to really improve very much with him. He's just another winger that they have. They already have a bunch. They have They have Mane. They already have players like Firmino, Coutinho. They have a lot of fast players. I don't think this really changes anything for them. It really doesn't. So I don't expect them to be any better than last season. Maybe a bit better defense, just because Klopp is going to have a bit more time to really instill that defensive mindset into him. But even Dortmund, when they had Klopp, they weren't that good defensively, and they had much better defenders than Liverpool do. So, 6th place for Liverpool. 5th place, and this is going to be controversial because for 2 seasons in a row, I think Arsenal will miss out on the top 4. And that's kind of shocking to a lot of people, because yes, they did have a decent transfer window, because they brought in Lacazette and they brought in Kolasinac, which is a pretty decent player. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know a whole lot about him, but seeing him play against Chelsea, I'm very impressed by Kolasinac. I think he's gonna be a very good player for him, especially as just a physical presence in defense. Because one thing that Arsenal lack, it's fucking hard. It's hard. Make no mistake about it. Arsenal tend to collapse when it really matters, and a guy like Kolasinac, who's a fucking warrior, you can tell he's a fucking warrior. He is going to be a guy that really helps them get to the next level. And I almost started there. I say that he could take them to the next level if they keep Sanchez and if they bring in one more good player. Because personally, Lacazette, I like the guy a lot. I just don't think he's the level player that's really going to change things for Arsenal. I think that they're a top 5 team. They aren't a top 4 team. They simply aren't, especially because if you look at the process that they've been going through, yes, they had a good game in the Community Shield. They simply do not look like a better team. They do not look like a better team. They haven't improved the manager because Arsene Wenger, over the past few years, has been getting worse and worse, and he has not improved. I don't think it's going to be any better for Arsenal, and I do think that the teams ahead of them are simply stronger, and I do think they're going to struggle to make the top 4. They could reach top 4 if the 4th place team don't struggle as much as I think they will. If they struggle more than I think they will. But I think the Arsenal right now are just barely out of the top 4, especially because I do think they will lose to Alexis Sanchez. And even if they don't lose to Alexis Sanchez, I don't think he's going to be there 100% mentally because he wants out. He's made it clear he wants out, and it looks like he's not going to be going out. So if he does stay there, is he going to give his all? Alexis Sanchez seems like the type of player who probably would, but at the end of the day, he might not. And if he doesn't, then Arsenal will be losing their biggest player because without a doubt, he is the heart and soul of that team. And without him playing at his very best, they're nothing. They're absolutely nothing when it comes to top 4. 4th place. And this is going to be controversial as hell. But I do have plenty of reasons why I think this is going to happen. And I have Chelsea in 4th place. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, okay, why the fuck are the champions, the reigning champions, top 4? I mean, only 4th place. And I'll tell you exactly why. Their team is nowhere near as good as it was in 16-17. They lost Matic. They got rid of a lot of their young players. And they simply weren't able to acquire Lukaku, which is clearly the main target they had. And they brought in Morata, who is a very good player. He's one of the best young strikers, under 25 and under strikers in the world. But at the end of the day, he isn't Premier League proven. So I have my doubts. I do have my doubts. Against Arsenal, yes, it was his first game. He didn't do jack shit. So I have some serious doubts about what he's going to do in the Premier League. Is he a 20-goal a season striker? Let me know in the comment section down below. I don't know if he is. I think he probably will be at least next season. But right now, this season, I'm not very convinced. And another big thing is that the fact that they've lost Diego Costa. Make no mistake about it. Diego Costa was a huge part of the title-winning teams, both last season and the last time they won it before that. Diego Costa was a huge part of that. He's a tremendous player. And losing him is a big deal. So, they were weak in the midfield by losing Matic, which was probably their second best midfield player because he played 35 out of 40 games they played last season, which shows you, and as a starter, for the most part, that shows you they lost a big piece. I can't believe they sold him to Man United, so they made a rival team much stronger. They gave United the exact piece that they needed for that midfield, which was a very dumb mistake. I'm shocked that Chelsea actually allowed that to happen. It was just fucking shocking. So they weakened themselves in midfield while also strengthening a rival team. Yes, they signed Bakayoko, but is Bakayoko a Premier League proven player? Absolutely fucking not. He hasn't done anything in the Premier League. He hasn't played there yet. In the French League, he had some good games. He had a really good season. We're talking about the fucking French League. We're talking about where Falcao went from scoring like 3 goals in 3 years to scoring around 20, if not more, in Ligue 1. That's what we're fucking talking about. We're talking about that level league. We're talking about Balotelli went from scoring like 2 goals for Liverpool, going to Milan, not scoring jack shit, maybe scoring 1, going to Ligue 1 and doing well. That's the level of football we're talking about. We're talking about low-level teams. So you can't really judge them. In the Champions League, he had some good games, but he also had a few games where he went missing because he was very inexperienced, stuff like that. That's what Chelsea are getting themselves into. They're going to have a very young, inexperienced midfielder who possibly could end up not being what they hoped for. Is he going to be able to live up to the tactics and stuff like that? We don't fucking know. We're going to find out, but he might not be able to live up to it. We'll find out. I think that right now, they simply are a worse team than they were in 2016-17, and the other teams, which already weren't that much worse than them, have improved. Also, they have no depth. They have no depth in their fucking team. They have 11 really good starters, but the bench, nothing really there. There's really nothing there. And now that you have Champions League football, you have to understand that's going to be rough for them. That's going to be way rough for them. They aren't going to be playing 40 games a season between all the cups. They're going to be playing, if they get past the group stage, around possibly 50. That's going to be very rough when they only have 11 good players and you have like 2 or 3 bench players that are really good. But other than that, you don't have enough really squad rotation to have a lot of depth throughout the season. I think that's going to cost them big time. And they're going to be going 4th position. They're going to be going 4th. That's just it. 4th place for Chelsea. 3rd place, Arsenal's rivals, Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham are a very, very good team, and they might have the very best starting 11 when it comes to how well they gel, how young they are, and just how fucking good a football they play. They play some of the best football in the league, probably the best football in the Premier League. Unfortunately for them, much like Chelsea, they have no depth. And this season in particular, they haven't brought in any, they haven't brought in any real replacements. They haven't brought in anybody who can really add to the team. Even Danny Rose, which is their best left back, has been talking about how he's really, really sad about the fact that the team aren't buying in any talented players to really improve the team. And the fact that because of that he might want to leave. If an offer comes up, he'd be more than happy to leave because of the fact that he doesn't really believe in the project, because they aren't bringing in the level players that you need to be consistently in the league, consistently competing for the title. And realistically, at this point, Tottenham have to be considered one of the favorites to win the title. And if they don't win it this year, they probably will never win it, because this year they have the best team they've ever had. And yes, they lost Kyle Walker, but at the end of the day, I don't think that's really that big of a loss. Kyle Walker's very fast. He's a very good defender. At the end of the day, Trippier is pretty much as good as him, so I don't really think it's a big loss. And yes, they did sell him to a Premier League rival, which I think was really, really, really dumb, especially because you're Tottenham. You've consistently over the years not sold to rival teams, at least not for a good price. Obviously, they got £50 million out of it, so that is good business from them, but they did strengthen a rival team. Now, at the end of the day, they are probably the best starting 11 in the league, just based on the way they play, but they have no depth. They have brought in no players, and now they have the added factor of having to play every single game at Wembley. Last season, they proved that at Wembley they struggled, and yes, that was only the Champions League, but still they had a hard time. They had a very hard time playing at Wembley. And they beat Juventus 2-0 recently in preseason and just in friendly, but it doesn't really show much. I think they are going to have some problems playing at Wembley. It seemed like the fans and the players didn't really feel at home there, obviously, with the fact that White Hart Lane had been the club's stadium for who knows, for like about 100 years, something like that. It was a staple there. And a lot of people have been saying, like, Wembley doesn't strike the fear into opposition players and opposition fans. When you go to White Hart Lane, you're in the city. You're in the fucking city. You're in North London, so you're right there among the Tottenham fans. But when you go to play at Wembley, you're outside of the city, so it's not really that whole, like, you're in a dangerous position type of thing. You don't have that, like, danger feel, which you get when you play in the heart of rival clubs' stadiums. So is Wembley going to be a problem for them? I think it will be. If they do manage to stay consistent at Wembley, that will be good for them. At the end of the day, I think it's going to cost them. And now, talking about the two teams that are going to be first and second in the league, and this is where it gets fucking so hard, especially because you have to be able to find a way to put your heart to the side, because I'm a United fan, and I went over this, I went like deep into really studying the two teams and what they're going to bring to the table, and I'm going to go ahead and take a drink of water because it's about to be fucking deep. I think Manchester City are going to finish second. Now, I know what you're thinking. You fucking shitty United fan. What the hell are you talking about, right? You're fucking biased as hell and all that stuff. I am biased. I'm not going to lie. I am biased. But I do think that the reasons are there for me to believe that United will finish first. And I'll tell you exactly why, based on City's flaws. Now, City had a very good transfer window. They brought in Bernardo Silva in midfield. He's a tremendous player. Very young. They brought in Danilo in the fullback. They brought in Kyle Walker, another right back. And they also brought in Mendy. So they brought in 3 really good fullbacks. They brought in, who else did they bring in? That's pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, that's it when it comes to like attacking players and fullbacks. And that shows you they have not fixed the problem they had last season. They have not fixed their center backs. Otamendi has proven he simply isn't Premier League level. He simply isn't Premier League quality. John Stones, he's a good young player, but he makes a lot of fucking mistakes. I don't really rate him as a center back. I don't think he's that good of a center back, honestly. He's got good feet, he's got good vision, he's got good passing. As a center back, he simply isn't there. I do not think he's going to be very good in the future. I think he was overhyped to hell because he's English. At the end of the day, I think he was a big waste of money, and I don't think that he's going to be somebody you can rely on right now. Vincent Kompany, if he stays fit for 3 games straight, you just hit the fucking lottery. You hit the fucking lottery. He will go injured, though. Make no mistake about it. He will not be playing more than 15 games this season. At the end of the day, that is a big problem for him because that means that their 3 best center backs aren't really all that good. They simply aren't all that good. They don't have Mangala anymore. They don't have anybody in defense that you can really look to like, okay, that guy can really cover for Kompany if he gets injured, or that guy is a really good player. There simply isn't a center back that you can really rely on in that team. At the end of the day, I think that's going to cost them big time because, yes, attacking, they are unrivaled. They're simply unrivaled. Agüero, Gabriel Jesus, fucking David Silva, Bernardo Silva. They lost Jesus Navas, which is a good move. They have Kevin De Bruyne, who's probably their best player. They have so much good players there. They have Fernandinho, they have Fernando. They have so many good fucking players in that team. But defensively is where they were weak. They had no problems whatsoever last season scoring goals or creating chances. They were without a doubt the best team offensively, and they were the best team to watch because they had so much going for them offensively. And I have no shame in admitting that the United were boring as hell to watch, but Manchester City always put on show. They were always offensive, and they always had, at least even when they lost, they had good, solid, fun games. At the end of the day, that's not what it's all about. They have to bring in center backs in order to really protect themselves. And right now, I don't see how they are going to be able to do that. I think they're going to have a very, very close run-in with Man United. I think it's going to be a very fucking close season, possibly separated by like 2 points, maybe even 3 points at most. I think it's going to be very close between the top 3 and even the top 4, but I think the top 3 is going to be very, very fucking close. I think Tottenham will finish like 5 points back, but I think that it's going to be very, very, very close. And I think that Man City simply have not fixed their center-back problems. I think it's going to be that's going to be their downfall, especially because of the fact that they brought in a bunch of new players. They brought in, like I said, Bernardo Silva, the 3 fullbacks. They brought in. There's somebody else missing. It doesn't come to my mind right now. Also, yeah, the keeper. That's right. They've also brought in Ederson, a keeper who they paid like 40 million pounds for him. So they've spent so much fucking money. So will they be able to win the league? I personally don't think so, and I hope to God I'm fucking right. I don't believe in God, so I don't hope to him, but I hope I'm right. I hope I'm fucking right, that they will take too much time to gel, and the fact that they haven't signed a center back, and they still might, because like I said, there's still 20 days left in the transfer window, so they still may have, they still may bring in a good center back. You never fucking know. I still think that they aren't going to be able to win the league, and that leads me to top spot, Manchester motherfucking United, my favorite team, my fucking club, the club I've loved since I was a little kid. I believe we're going to be winning the title. And I may be biased, and I fucking am, but I do believe we will be getting this title this season. Why? Well, we've had a really good transfer window. First of all, we signed Romelu Lukaku. We fixed our goal problem. We signed Nemanja Matic. We weakened the best team. Well, we weakened the champions while also improving our team big time, which means we have much better coverage over the defense. We also have a better chance of having Pogba move forward, so we freed him up. We also freed up Herrera pretty much, a lot more than he was before, which means that both guys have less defensive duties, so they can play better offense, which is what their game is. We also have the fact that now Carrick can be a bit more free if he does play. We have a lot going for us right now. We have a very good midfield. So we strengthened our striking. We solved our midfield problem, and we also have a very solid defense, bringing in Lindelof, who, like I said in a few videos, I'm not very convinced by him. He does seem like he has a few mistakes in him, and he has made quite a few mistakes in preseason. But based on what I've been seeing from other United fans and people that have seen him play, because I never saw him play for Benfica, so I don't really know what he looks like with the system he knows, with the players that he knows, with the manager he knows. But we will find out very soon what he's made of. I think he has the potential to be a really good player, but will he be a John Stones? I hope not. I hope he will be good. And I do think that Eric Bailly will carry him to doing some really fucking good things. Now, our defense was already one of the best in the league. I think we were second best defense in the Premier League last season, behind only Chelsea. So that shows you how good we were. So that defense has pretty much remained as good as it was. Plus, you add Lindelof. Plus, you add Matic. So we should have a much better defense as well. And the fact that now we have solved with Lukaku the striking problems. The only problem we had was scoring goals. I think with Lukaku we were guaranteed 20 to 25 goals this season in the Premier League alone. Plus the fact that Matic, we're going to free up Pogba and Herrera. That means we're going to be getting a lot more chances created. We're going to have just a lot better offensively. And I think that overall we have improved our team so much this transfer window. Even though we don't have a lot of marquee signings, we are a much better team than we were last season. I think that's going to be the big difference there. Also, Jose Mourinho, Season 2, always shows up and almost always gets a league title. That's what he's done with Porto. That's what he's done with Real Madrid. That's what he did with Inter. That's what he did with fucking Chelsea twice. I think they're with Real Madrid. I can't remember if he won in his second season. Maybe he won in his third season. But anyway, I know for a fact he won La Liga. I can't remember exactly if it was the second. No, it was definitely second because in the third season he had a bunch of problems with the players. Now, regardless, Mourinho, second season, is always lights out. He's always dominant, and I think that's going to be the same case this season. First season, when he gets to a club, he gets there, he assesses the players, he takes a season to really figure out what he needs. Second season, he brings in the right players, he makes the team play the way he wants them to play, and from then on, it's bolts all season long. It's fucking great goals, it's fucking great football, and success. Success all the way around. I think now that we're playing back in the Champions League as well, we're not going to be as fatigued as we were in the Europa League, because the Europa League are more games. Yes, you play against lesser opposition, so maybe you don't have to play your best players, but at the end of the day, I think it's It's a less heavy calendar, especially because in the Champions League you play on Tuesday and Wednesday, and opposed to Thursday, which you play Thursday then Sunday, which is just very, very rough for the players. So I think that we will be favored both when it comes to fatigue and simply quality on the pitch, and obviously the manager having a better idea of what exactly it's going to take to win the league with this team. So I think that right now we are the favorites to win the league. I have been seeing some people putting City as winning the league. Also, some people have been putting us. Some other people have been putting Tottenham as the champions. So there's a lot of mixed emotions right now. There's a lot of mixed ideas about what's going to happen in the league, and I fucking love it. I honestly love it. It's going to be the best Premier League of all time. Last season was tremendous. This season is going to be even fucking better. I'm so fucking excited. I cannot wait for tonight's game. Arsenal versus Leicester. I have that game going 2-1 to Arsenal. I'm hoping Leicester will get the draw at least, but you never fucking know. The Premier League is going to be so fucking insane. So many great quality teams, and even Everton or 7 could possibly have a way to get into the top 6, maybe beat out Liverpool or Arsenal if they struggle. There's just so much to look forward to, guys. Let me know in the comment section down below who you think's going to win. Am I fucking crazy for picking Man United? A lot of people probably think I am, and I fucking am crazy. I always say this. I'm always fucking nuts when I think that Man United are going to win games. Are going to do well. I always say that because for some reason a lot of people think I am crazy. And it's fucking sad, honestly, to think that so many people right now think that United have no chance of winning just because of what have happened in recent years. Back, 3 or 4 years ago, everybody thought year after year we were going to win the title. And now nobody thinks that we're going to fucking win. I mean, it's just the way we've gone down. The way we fucking lost reputation in the fucking world is just kind of sad. But right now, I do personally believe we are the best team. City are the best team when it comes to talent, but they aren't the best team when it comes to we're going to see on the pitch. And that's just my belief. That's my opinion. Let me know, like I said, in the comment section down below if you think I'm crazy. Let me know where you think your favorite team is going to finish. And let me know who you think is going to get relegated as well. Let me know the top 4. Let me know exactly what the fuck you think is going to happen. I'm very fucking curious about exactly what everybody thinks is going to happen. I love predictions. I watch so many prediction videos. I love reading comments with all the predictions. So I hope you guys will help me out in the comment section down below by filling it out and helping me also fill out my comment section down below because it'll definitely help the channel. Also, hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel for Premier League previews. This weekend, it's too late. I'm not going to be doing it. And also, I will be doing it starting from next season. They will also be doing the Premier League breakdowns. I don't have a name for the show yet, but I will come up with something very soon. So I'm going to be doing a lot of content, a lot of fucking content, both on my gaming channel, on my sports channel. So check out both, and hopefully you guys will tune in. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And one more thing I want to say. Keep in mind that this is coming out before the end of the transfer window, which means certain players might be coming in, so certain things might change. At the end of the transfer window, I will be doing, not really an updated video, but I will be saying maybe 1 or 2 things. I'll be doing a transfer market review where I'll be saying which teams could possibly be finishing farther up, which teams improved even more, and stuff like that. So keep that in mind. At the end of the season, some things may change based on the transfer window. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you in the next video. I've been Diego, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Foot and Fist Sports Network.